Today on the Rising Coaches Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Rising Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Bender, and today's episode is brought to you in part by Boost Analytics. Boost is a one-of-a-kind technology company that provides NBA-caliber analytics and video analysis to a select number of men's and women's Division I basketball programs. Boost uses artificial intelligence and natural language technologies to make analytics more user-friendly and to translate complex data into easy-to-read coaching insights. The Boost platform was built by data scientists and basketball experts with decades of experience at both the collegiate and NBA levels. To learn more about Boost and how your team can gain a competitive edge, head on over to their website at www.boostsport.ai and join the fastest growing team in college basketball analytics. Also, if you're not already a member and interested in joining the largest coaching tree in basketball, visit risingcoaches.com to sign up today. You'll build genuine relationships with other coaches, have access to amazing content, and allow you to develop your craft, expand your network, and see job opportunities on our member site that are not posted anywhere else. For more information, visit risingcoaches.com. All right, please welcome to the podcast, Coach Heather Macy. She is currently the head coach and assistant athletic director at Greensboro College. She used to be the head coach at ECU, former Division I and Division II coach. She is currently everything you can imagine. She's an author and an expert in emotional intelligence, an entrepreneur, a keynote speaker. She hosts her own podcast. The list goes on. I'm proud to call her one of my mentors and great friends, and she's been a great asset to the Rising Coaches community. Coach, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Brian, thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be on anything involving Rising Coaches. My answer is always a yes. So thank you guys so much for all you do for the basketball community.
Awesome. Thank you as well. Give us a little insight first. What have you done with Rising Coaches in the past, and what are you doing currently within our organization?
Well, all during the COVID period of time, Adam and I worked together, and we did a weekly show, and then that kind of grew. We've had a lot of discussions on, how that will grow within it of itself. I'm a big believer in letting young coaches in on the stuff that I wish someone would have told me. And so I talk a lot about the failures throughout my coaching career and the experiences that I had in hopes that someone will pick up maybe just one thing and take with them throughout their career. And then obviously working with Matt and with the consulting group, which has been so cool. Like that one-on-one ability to work with coaches of all levels and really helping them navigate whether it is the hiring process or how to best be a valuable player with their own program and their own team. And so it's just been a lot of fun. And I just really believe in the mission of Rising Coaches and just really grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, you and me both. And I really enjoyed that's kind of how we got to know each other is, there's two shows that I never missed. There's a Heather Macy show and it was a Scott Savor show. And both of you guys have become great mentors to me. I'm just excited to continue to learn from you. I've read your book. I've listened to you speak, and you do a phenomenal job with what you do, and you help a lot of coaches, whether you know it or not, whether you get the credit or not. And I'm contribute a lot of my success to what you've taught me throughout. So you're currently now an assistant athletic director, and you're also a head coach. Tell us a little bit about, I know you're 9-1. You're off to a great start. You've kind of turned around that program. Tell us a little bit about, where you contribute your success now as a head coach, and kind of how you've transitioned into some other type of role within the administration side.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for saying all that. I'm really flattered. I think me and you are the only two coaches walking around with big sticks that are colored in red and yellow and green and talking to our players about their emotions and how to be at their best when it's time to be at their best. And obviously you and I have a similar belief that elite performers leave nothing to chance ever and run our programs that way. So thanks so much for saying all that. And yeah, I've gone over to the dark side a little bit with the administrative piece, which has been good for me, right? So I get to kind of see how the sausage is made. And I tell a lot of the coaches, I go, how coaches were super paranoid about a lot of different things? Most of the time it's true. So just stick with your gut on some of those kinds of things. But being back in my alma mater has been like super fun. So we're both really competitive coaches. And, Brian, I've coached at every level. I've been a head JUCO coach all the way to a head Division I coach. And so never, and I look, I don't like to lose, period. But when you start talking about losing, being back at your alma mater where you played and your blood, sweat, and tears went onto that same floor and you experienced running those same sprints that your players are and playing in the same similar league. It's a little bit different now, but a loss at GC for me stings way different than any loss ever has stung. And so that's a really unique perspective. I've always been super competitive and worked really hard to lose very infrequently, but we're 9-1, and that one loss is just like, it's just so tough. But being back home has been really, really cool. It's really purposeful. So that's been cool. And so I'm really thankful to have a lot of really good players. And that's really what we've been able to really get this shift happening really, really quickly this season. So it's been fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with 9-1, and that one loss must have stung you a lot. But I know last year wasn't as easy for you, especially with the COVID and everything else that kind of went on, and a lot of adjustments and things like that. But like you said, there's no place like home. Whether it was where you played, you're from, you hold a little bit more special part into your heart. Of course, we care a lot no matter where we are, and we want to win. But when you add a little bit of extra emotion to it, I think it really contributes to that success and the effort and attitude that you put into your job and the passion
Brian,
that you have.
I'll tell you, last season, and me and you are big practice people anyway, but last season even helped me even more understand the value of practice. So we brought in 10 new players at the turn. So December break, we bring an influx of 10 new players, and our staff had gotten together, got a great group here working together in this course of bringing in new players, infiltrating a new system. And we got 5 practices in, shut down. We would come back 14 days later. We'll practice like 3 times, play a game. And it was the first time in my entire career, and I've always understood the value of a practice and understanding how important practice is. We got in a total of 47 practices for the year a year ago. And so for us to qualify, make the conference tournament, we're bringing back 3 returning starters. Like as bad as really a season ago during COVID was, there's so many things that I learned as a coach. You're talking about 20 years in this profession, and every season I keep learning new things. And the biggest thing I learned, and now I never take it for granted. Like today we're about to practice number 37, and I'm going, it's the most important thing I do during the day. And a lot of coaches, we say that, but we really don't do that. It is the most important thing. And now when I see the team grow and mature and improve, I see it from a whole different lens when a year ago we really weren't practicing.
Yeah, definitely. And we had a similar type boat. So we had COVID the first week of the season and the last week of the season. So basically going into our first game, we had 10 days without practice. And then going into our conference tournament, we had no practices. So like basically the 2 times where you're like really considerate or a little bit more in depth in certain things, we missed little spots in those building blocks, those stairs that you take each day. You had to skip steps, or you had to accelerate steps, or weren't able to have everything in your coaching bag. And it was it was a challenge. And unfortunately right now, I think it's happening again, with the new variant and other things. We're almost back to square one. And hopefully this one isn't as detrimental long-term for the basketball community and for our world, where we can continue to move forward. And, now we got a little bit more. We can't use it as an excuse. Now you're in year 2 of it. So you got to continue to prepare for it no matter what's thrown our way. One thing that I've always, enjoyed visiting with you and listening to you speak, you talk a lot about your journey. In your journey, you climbed extremely fast, and you speak upon not only the successes that you had and the wins and the things that you've done extremely quickly, but also the things that didn't go as well for you or mistakes that you've made. And you really speak upon your growth from a mature perspective. A lot of people don't want to talk about the negative, and they don't reflect on that the right way. Talk to us a little bit about, some of the things that you've done to help make yourself the best coach on the floor. And then a little bit more, we'll dive into some stuff I know you want to speak on off the floor. But let's talk a little bit on the floor first. One thing that you've always told me is, hey, there's a lot of things that contribute to winning, but the 2 most important ones are coaching and recruiting. So let's talk about those 2 a little bit specifically.
Okay, Brian, let's just say we're pretty good coaches. We got pretty good systems, right? But ultimately, it's garbage without the right players. And so I say the number one thing that we do, and I'll just tell you this, as a Division I coach, I took my thumb off of it, and I didn't do enough in the recruiting. I did it for periods of time, and then I would back off of a recruiting cycle. But I will never make that mistake again. So if you're a head coach and you're listening and you go, I hate recruiting and all the travel and I don't want to leave my family and, and my assistant can go and evaluate. I believe the assistants can go and evaluate. I think that's great. I think that's really, really important. But ultimately, I think that the head coach has to lead recruiting. I think it's the number one thing that we do. And I'm just going to tell you, our team right now is so daggone connected because I'm connected. Right? I'm connected to each of these kids. I'm connected to each of these parents. I'm connected to each of these coaches that they played for. And so because I coach them pretty hard now, I haven't backed down in the coaching. I mean, we get after it every single day. And so I think I could coach them even harder because I was their lead recruiter. I've got Abria Trice here with me. She played for me at ECU. She's been a pro for 6 years and she's on the court right now. I trust her. I'm here talking to you. She's working those kids out right now. I mean, I trust her with everything we do within that program, and she does so much for us. But the recruiting piece, she and I do it collectively, and I lead it pretty much. So we've got good players at Greensboro College. We have 3, actually, of the 5 starters when I was a JUCO coach here with us now. It's the relationship piece. I mean, those kiddos liked where we had started. I think that they saw how much better they kept getting. And honestly, they go, hey, let's do this a little bit longer. And so it's a great relationship piece. We've been able to, I say, I've coached at every level, Brian, and I know you've done the same. My one thing is I'm never going to coach bad players. It doesn't matter what level we're coaching. I want to coach the best players we can possibly get. And I think we've got that here. I think we've got the right human beings. I think we've got the right ones that are willing to work incredibly hard. And so I'm probably having more fun now than I've ever had. And I've said that publicly, like the first 20 years of coaching was pretty cool, but this next 20 is really where it's going to be at. And so for me, I've made a lot of personal changes, adjustments, sacrifices that I think now are paying dividends with my coaching career.
Definitely. And just kind of playing off what you spoke on. So, I'm at an institution where, you could rank, the 15 schools in our league and different things. And there's certain things where we're towards the top, certain things where we're in the middle, certain things where we're in the bottom third. And obviously, there's a lot of things that go into tradition and winning. And you see a lot of the same places winning over and over and over and over. And so as a head coach, you got to find ways to make yourself different. And the one thing that I love about you is your ability to be different, to know who you are, to speak very confidently about who you are. You know who you are. You know what type of players you want to recruit. And it's not, it's talent is one thing, but, speaking of my experiences. So, my first year as a head coach, I had 9 Division I players on my team, and we were so talented, but the team part wasn't always there. And we had new assistants and we had a lot of different things. There was only 3 people there from the program from the year prior, 2 players and myself. And so finding different ways to not only find those right people, but finding the right fits, figuring out who you are as a head coach. Like you said, you're still growing and developing, and it's 20 years. But the next 20 are more and more important, and they're going to be more fun. And you talk about the fun aspect of the people and those relationships that you build. And I feel like that relationship spot is forgotten a lot. People claim that they have good relationships. So a texting relationship, I can get this kid, yada, 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 yada. But, until they get to campus, it's your work is done prior to getting them to campus. Like the trust and the building, and you just only build on those core foundations. And that's one thing as a head coach, I love to go out and recruit. I just enjoy it. And I know you're the same way, and you'll never, go back from it. And it takes time, to build a relationship. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes effort. It takes building that trust. And your behaviors are going to come before your successes with that, because you put in the time and they know who you are. And when they get there, there's no surprises. And so the more work that you put in prior, you're going to attract the people that are like you and are wired like us. We're different. We can coach a lot of different people, but a lot of people can't play always for us. And so I think that's really important in, building that and, learning the culture, evaluating not only family background, personality, intelligence, their basketball background, on-court personality, off-court personality, and we talk about it and we live it. And I think that's just something that kind of sets us apart. You talked about the emotional intelligence stick. we use that on occasion and different things. They understand like, hey, what happens next can't be based on how you feel. Because if we live that type of life every single day, like if we live off emotion, our lives are going to be all over the map, and it's not going to be as intentional as what we're trying to do and giving ourselves time, space, and opportunity to react instead of just.
Well, Brian, we all talk about the relationship and recruiting. I think the error becomes when you think the relationship is just telling everybody what they want to hear. The relationship for me, whether it be with our staff or our players, the key to that is I show up right away. As I tell you, I'm perfectly imperfect. Every single day I screw it up, and they know it. And I go in and I go, I had 2 situations already happen this year where I was an absolute asshole, right? And so I have said, I own that. I made a mistake. That was my error. Like I'm not justifying it. I'm not making an excuse for it. I'm sorry. And that's taken me a lot of time to grow just with my own self-worth and my ability to go that I'm enough. I am good with me to make sure that I'm letting them know this is how you should react and this is how you should respond when you make errors. And so that relationship with those kiddos, I'm the first person they call when they mess it up, because we have this relationship that they know they're not expected to be perfect. Give me all you've got today. Give me all you've got tomorrow. And I tell them, Brian, if we can do that for 5 to 7 days, we've been pretty good, because society, it's hard to be consistent for a day, 2 days. We do it for a week. We probably won all those games that week. Now let's see if we can reset that thing again. And so we just want to put multiple good days together. And when you start demanding perfection of people, that's when they're going to underachieve. I'm going to underachieve, Brian, if you expect me as the coach and at home and as assistant athletic director. If you're expecting me every single day to be perfect, I'm going to let you down. But if you're expecting me every single day to do the best that I possibly can, then you're going to be pleased with me more than not. And I'm not telling you that it's something that I've been doing for 20 years. I'm telling you that's been a recent adjustment that has gone so far from me from a personal perspective, as well as obviously being the best coach I could possibly be for these kids, because that's what they deserve. They deserve the best version of me.
Yeah, and even you said this, we talked about potentially moving this podcast to after practice. And you said, I won't get your best. And, that everything that you do, you want to be at your best, and what that looks like mentally, physically, emotionally, and all those things kind of contribute into one. But if we can model the way when we make mistakes, show them what it looks like. And then when they do give us what we're looking for, whether that's, the right attitude, the right focus, the right energy, the right communication, we have to celebrate it. And that's one thing that, it's not cliche. It's not, false fantasy world. But when they do what we ask, like, it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. There you go. The dogs, you got to celebrate the dog. His communication is great. He's keeping you safe back there. But, you got to celebrate those things when we do things the right way, or when your players do the right thing.
All right. So let's talk about that, Brian. So you got your kiddo at home. I've got Ripley here in the background. Again, stuff isn't always perfect. Like, we're coaches, but we're people. Like, I talk about this in all of our EQ stuff. There's one brain. And so it doesn't have to be, we're just the coach or we're just the dad. It's one for everybody. And so I love that. I'm glad that she barked. I hope she keeps doing it, because I think it's important for us to all understand is we've got life stuff. And no, my tank is going to be so empty tonight after practice. However, I've got some techniques before I show up at home where I didn't have that in my toolbox a year ago or 2 years ago. So I've got new techniques and new strategies that I could fill my tank up on the ride home, so that when I walk in, I can leave the fact that maybe I'm tired, or maybe I can leave the fact that 3 kids are positive for COVID, or leave the fact that they were home for 2 weeks and 4 of them gained 10 pounds and didn't do anything, right? Where normally I would have taken that back to the house, as I know all coaches do. And we're irritated and we're frustrated. And now all of a sudden we're recruiting multiple problems. So we had 1 problem at practice, and now we've got 2 problems because we brought all those same issues into the house. And so those are just some things that I've added into my toolbox that, gosh, I'm so glad for, because I coach more freely. I coach from a better place. And then I think I'm just a better friend and just a better human in generally for all the people that I love.
Yeah, definitely in the mindset too thing, the mindset part of it too. So you don't want mistakes to quote unquote snowball. You don't want one mistake to become multiple. And how you react or how you respond to being patient, and taking what just happened. Okay, your dog barked. Well, oh no, it just ruined our puck. No, it's perspective. Hey, we're going to celebrate it. We're going to celebrate that adversity. We're going to celebrate that challenge. We're going to, not let one thing ruin our day, one little thing, and we had a bad day. Well, you can't focus on those things. You can just focus on, hey, getting better, winning that day, 1-0 season type stuff, where you're just continuing to move forward and press forward with that. So that stuff's really important. And you talked a little bit about, emptying your tank every day. And in order for you to empty your tank also has to get full. And one thing that I know that you've really prided yourself on here over the last 6 months is not putting your health on the shelf and prioritizing your health, which, you even admitted in your past that, hey, you didn't live your best healthy life. You were go all the time, not eating the right things, not doing the right things, not filling your mind up with the right things. So talk a little bit about, how have you made yourself a priority? How have your, rule number 1 is not make yourself number 2. So how have you reshaped your life into making yourself your number 1 priority so you can give more to others?
So, Brian, first, I think as coaches, we all are setting goals. I mean, that's kind of what we do. We set goals. And so and part of I'm glad you brought up Scott Sabor. I mean, what a great guy, right? So I was kind of the same way. Like anything I can watch or learn from him, I'm on it. And so when you start talking about habits in life versus goals, I think are really important. Like, what are your daily habits? And each of those small daily habits, are those things helping you reach what you think your ultimate goals are? You may understand this, Brian, but I'm telling you, every woman, every female who is listening to this podcast is going to relate to this. So I had gotten to a certain age that I had given up. Okay. Like I had already succumbed to the fact that I'm going to have a little bit of extra weight around my midsection and I'm going to be a little bit thicker because my metabolism is slowing down. I had already quit. I mean, I'm just be honest with you. I had quit. I was everything you think about of like, I'm aging and this is just what's going to happen. And it's just what it is. And I've had some significant life changes. I've had some significant life losses over the past 18 months. And I just said one day, I was like, I'm going to get some help on this. Like, it's not going to be, I can't do it alone. Right. And so that's hard for people who are really type A and really strong. And like, I can do everything myself. I'm educated in nutrition. I'm educated in fitness. Well, you know what? I can't do this because I've done it my way and my way doesn't work. So I'm smart enough to go, hey, I need some help. I mean, I am real quick about asking for help, right? So I will call you guys all the time and say, I don't know what to do. What do you think? Well, that's what I did. I went and I worked with a doc, right? And I had a team around me from acupuncturists, my vitamin stuff, my nutritional piece, hey, is everything good from a blood work perspective? Am I okay? I did all those steps. And I had a team around me to hold me accountable. And I got into a very serious nutritional journey. It was obviously, I have a Peloton and that was a big part of it. Rip and I did excessive pieces of walking and those things changing my lifestyle. But those were habits that I would put like to end my day and things. But I went through this. I started at July the 7th. And I decided that I was going to do the things that I teach. And so whether I'm teaching our team or I am coaching young coaches or I'm working in corporate America and teaching very, very high achieving, but high stressful environment folks how to live a more elite life. And so now I'm living a more elite life and it has started from a nutritional perspective. 29 pounds down, but more importantly, my brain is clear. And so some of the things that have changed for me is my process and my thought process. I think that I was absolutely had a brain fog about me and my decisions, and that a lot of that was my nutritional piece. And so understanding that from hydration to nutrition to the mental health perspective, when we can absolutely fuel ourselves and be who we authentically are and show up every single day and not just telling the kids, guys, you need to make sure you get proper rest and hydrate. But as the coach, I'm getting proper rest and I'm hydrating. I say it differently. They see it in me differently. And I think they're buying into that a little bit better too. So this has been a really a full circle place for me, when there was a period of time that my body, Brian, hurt so bad after practice, because I've always been very active at practice. I mean, I'm going to get in a defensive stance and I'm going to demo some stuff, and I always have. But my body hurt after, right? So my hips were dying that I'm in triple threat, right? Or I'm in a defensive stance. Now I can demo those kinds of things. I'm out there doing the individual workouts with kids and getting extra shots in with kids. And I go home and I still feel pretty good. And it energizes me versus depletes me. And so in exchange for these things, because I've made some pretty significant life changes and sacrifices, I think that the people in my life and the people that I love the most are getting the best version of me. And that helps me sleep better at night. And that helps me like myself a whole lot better.
In making those sacrifices is hard. And, you got to make sure that you're patting yourself on the back and being proud of your, whether it's a proud purchase, whether it's a proud, you invest in yourself. And that's, extremely important that sometimes we forget. And we talked about modeling the way in terms of being a leader, but also being a physical leader within your group. Like if you physically can't do what you're asking them to do, hey, we probably need to make more changes. We're sitting on the sidelines drinking a Diet Coke and telling them to put the right things into their body before a game. Like we got to live that life as well. And even myself, like I'm a victim to it. And, where have you found, and one thing that I love about you is you're go, 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 and you're doing 100 things all the time. You have your business, you have your podcast, you have, your administrative duties, you have your head coaching duties, you still got to recruit, you still have your personal life. How have you made your health a priority? Where have you found the time? And that's where a lot of people, the first thing that they give up is themselves because, hey, I need to give myself to others. So where have you found that drive? What motivated you? Or, how can you help somebody find that?
So, Brian, I thought that I couldn't do this. Interestingly enough, it's one of the first things that I've done probably in, a decade that I really didn't think I could do. I'm smart enough to set all the processes in play, but in my heart of hearts, I was like, there's no way my doc was like, yeah, we'll get you to 135 pounds. And I was like, yeah, right. Well, I'm at 124 right now. And so when I accomplished the 135, I celebrated that. I mean, that was like a party because I didn't think I could do it. And I think that's a healthy thing for adults to set goals that maybe are just a little bit what you believe or outside of reach and be able to do it. So full disclosure, I was a wake up in the morning and have a handful of gummy bears to get started. So my energy that you've always seen me has been fake energy. It's been sugar. I mean, I'm sending emails and eating gummy bears and Skittles and just crap, right? Or just coffee to keep it going. So I would just tell you this is that was all fake energy, and it was energy that I just died, And so now I'm at the point where what I have learned is the fuel that my hydration and my eating and all these kinds of things, they give me sustainable energy. And I never crash off of it. And I was able to it took me a couple of weeks, right, to get off of the sugar stuff where my head didn't hurt and those kinds of things. But I would never just have one gummy bear right now, right? It's just to that point where I'm going to go, I'm not doing it in moderation. I know because I am very much a go do it or don't do it at all human, that either I'm going to do that or not do it. And I am not doing it kind of person right at this point. But I will tell you what brings me energy is this. I've had a long day and it's after practice and I'm back in my hometown. So whether it's my family or my college friends, I'm surrounded by support. And so a lot of times they're like, hey, Mace, you want to go and grab a drink after practice, or you want to go to dinner, or hey, I live right downtown. So a lot of people want to come over here and hang out. And I really enjoyed it, but I'm like, I just got home from practice. It's kind of the last thing I want to do. I'm introverted. I know everybody's like, get out of here, you're introverted. I am introverted. I gain my energy reading, being by myself. Like, that's important to me. I have to have that time every single day. But what I have learned is I jump on the bike and maybe like I really don't want to hang out with my friends, but you do understand that you've got to give and take. Like, there's balance to that. And so I'm like, no, it's the right thing to do. Or one of my friends just lost her dad recently. And I knew you got to give to those people. I love them so much and I want to give to them. And so I get on that bike for 20 minutes and it's like I just recruit more energy. And when that night's over, I probably crash pretty big time and I really like just want to hang out with my dog. But ultimately, I have learned I understood it intellectually, but now I'm practicing it. Energy recruits more energy. So sitting still doesn't help you feel better for practice. Get up and walk a lap around your campus and then come to practice and you'll feel so good getting into there. And so I do the same if we have a late game, like we played one night at 7:00. Well, 7:00, I'm ready to wind down a little bit. So what I did right away, I just got on that bike right before I got in the shower for the game and I got going pretty good and I was just juiced up like crazy for that game. So it's really, for me, application. It's things that all of us coaches know. And now, are you disciplined enough to go and apply those things? And I'll be quite honest with you, I'm disciplined enough to go apply them because it stopped being about me. So initially, I did it because I felt like it's what I had to do for myself. Now that I'm in this routine and in the sequence, I realize that bigger picture and what keeps me sustaining this is I see how much better I am for all the people around me that I really, really love. And so now I'm motivated more than ever to keep doing it because I want to be the best I can be for all the people that I love. And Brian, I wasn't always like that. When I was one of the most selfish human beings that I've ever met. And I was probably just doing it so it would help me or help me accomplish something else.
Yeah, there's some really, really important things. And, that's you talking about humility. That's you talking about your reasons, your why, your purpose, and what has gone into building that. And even though there was a lot of, not ego, but a lot of pressure that you put on yourself of winning and all these other things where it's me centered to making it we centered, and your purpose and your why and giving back and emptying your tank and giving other people your best, and in return is helping yourself. And it takes a long time to understand that. And then, you just hit on so many good points there with, if you look at like Alan Stein talks about performance gaps. Performance gaps are, we all know what we're supposed to do. It's getting us to do it and shrinking that gap of, hey, applying what we know into actually doing what we say we're going to do. And that's shrinking that gap. And it looks as if that's what you've done and that's what you're going to continue to do. And that's what you want to spread amongst others and give your best to others. So would you
Brian,
say,
I just wanted to reiterate. I just want to reiterate. I guess I feel really purposeful is I want to mirror what our kiddos as strong women can be later in life. And I don't want them to see that all that they can be is a winner. And all they can do is put banners in the gym and win championships and wear championship rings. I want them to see what it looks like to be a strong female that has every area in her life balanced. I have a picture of a wheel, and I got this, I'm an avid Audible podcaster. I'm listening to something at all times when I'm walking, I'm driving or whatever. And I wish I could tell you where I got this from because I want to give credit there, but it's a wheel and it's got 8 spokes to it. And I basically have assigned those 8 areas of my life. And my goal every day, and I want our players to see me this way. I don't want to see that the only one area of those 8 that coach is good at. So the only area they, used to know that I was good at is coaching, is winning, is, I want them to see like, oh my God, like she loves her family. Oh my, like coach has got great friends. Like I've got my health. I've got my, I want all of my 8 to be in balance so that wheel moves as a wheel should. And then I could drive that thing really, really hard and fast. But until those 8 areas of my life were where they needed to be, then I don't think that I was the right role model for my kiddos. I was showing them how to be singular focused. And I think to be at an elite level, you have to have all 8 areas of your life in a balanced rotation, and then you'll be ready to drive it hard and fast.
Definitely. And what I'll say is you're not, I wouldn't say finally, but you're living a life that you would want recorded. You're living a life that you would want repeated. You're living a life that you would want other people to replicate. And that's what us as coaches need to think about. That's what we need to live. And not just coaches, but anybody. Like we could talk about our specific demographic of who we surround ourselves with, or higher achievers, or, people that speak on certain subjects or are educated. But that goes for anybody, and anybody can make those changes and do into that if they, educate themselves and do it. At the end of the day, you still got to put in the work. If you don't work at something, like, we could be all talk, but at the end of the day, you still got to put in the work, and we're all victims of it at some point. And again, understanding that you don't have to be perfect. It's just, a daily, hey, just be a little bit better. Take all those different things that and apply them and strive for exponential growth instead of crash. Go for 3 to 5 days and then quit. And finding those things and figuring out what works for you, because everybody's different.
Brian, I'm just going to tell you, when your vibrational energy and your alignment is right, you're going to attract more of the same. And so I've had so many people say, like, you're at a non-scholarship Division III school and look at the talent on your roster. How do you do that? And I go, I used to call it passion, or belief, or a good recruiter, right? But I look at it now more like I'm attracting the right people into my life because they're those same type of people. And and that's what it is. Me and you, Brian, it's that same thing. Like, I want to be around more people like me and who feel the same way as I feel, and who don't think I'm nuts, who don't think like, wow, she's too far out there for me. Like, she's too high energy for me. If you're really organically doing this, you'll attract those same types of people. And then that's where you get that momentum. And I've just had so many God winks since I got back. Like, every time I turn around, it's like, that just works out right. And that happened right. And that person called and that person happened. And I just go, this isn't about me. This isn't what I do. This is higher purpose. This is God coming down and going, okay, Heather, you've worked through, I wanted to teach you some lessons, and I put you through some hard trials, but you've come out of this deal and you've learned what you're supposed to learn. And so vibrating at a whole different level. And I'm just so thankful. And my level of humility of looking around and giving every single day gratitude for everybody in my life is just, it's been life-changing for me. And I'm just so, so thankful for it. I really am. And for you, Brian, and for Adam and Matt and everybody else at Rising Coaches.
Definitely. And you can't have too much of that stuff either. Like, it's like dopamine. It's like being grateful. You can't be too grateful. There's no such thing. Now, there's over the topness, but like if you live that way and you are genuinely, authentic in what you believe, and, it kind of comes full circle with what we talked about originally within recruiting. And you're going to attract the people that you want in your life, and vice versa. And the people, whether they're paying, whether the location isn't great, you're going to overcome the quote unquote things that we make excuses for by being who we are. And it's going to come full circle with, hey, my core values are passion, humility, discipline, PhD. Well, how do I find the kids that fit that? Well, if I talk about it and I live it and I be about it, they're going to want to be a part of it. And you're going to know. And even though, the kid may be second on your list, but that kid aligns with you and you're able to reach that kid easier, you're going to get more out of them. And, you're just going to attract those right people. And, I, like you were speaking on, like, I love that, don't take this wrong way, but like, we may be weird or we may be different or we're authentic in our own way, but like, that stuff stands out. But not everybody wants to stand out either. And so, like, hey, the kids that may be a little bit more vanilla or don't really align with our differences, like, may not be the best fit for us in our program or who we, surround ourselves with, because we want to enjoy it on both ends of it. If you were to kind of take a step back now and think about what we've just kind of talked about, and you've mentioned a lot of things that I think are unique and authentic, what is one thing that you believe in that others really think is weird? Like, give me one example of something that you think that just other people like don't even process, or that you think that you do is weird that other people go like, interesting.
I'm not sure who thinks is weird or who doesn't think is weird, but everybody has always used the term like Heather Macy works really, really hard, and as a negative, right? It's been this whole thing about like, oh man, she's just this and she's a hard, she's so, no, or maybe it's like the demanding piece. And I've always said, like, if that's the worst thing you can come up with, like, I'm kind of okay with that. However, I've shifted it now, and I go, you know what? I am very demanding, and I do work hard, and I'm really, really proud of that. You know what else I do really hard? I love really hard. You know what else I do really, really hard? I tell you the truth really, really hard. And I'm going to demand that every single day that you're the best you could possibly be when you're right here with me. And so I think by me shifting the love piece to it, and I hate to use the love, you're a coach, and I love them like crazy, and they know I love them like crazy. And Abria knows she's our assistant coach. I love Abria like crazy, and I tell her, Abria, I love you like crazy. I'm gonna kill you, but I love you, but I'm gonna kill you for not calling that recruit back like you were supposed to. And so I've just kind of shifted my demanding in. I still have that standard. Like, I don't care how much you get paid. I don't care. I'm asking you to do a job. And I've not changed that philosophy at all. What I have done is I think that maybe people will think is crazy is I'll tell the kid in the middle of the game, I love you, right? But you are playing for the other team right now. So you're going to have to sit down for a minute. And then I'll tell them the truth in the middle of it, Brian. But these relationships of it is they'll go, I got you, coach. Like, I understand exactly what you're able to do. So in the middle of the game, we Control-Alt-Delete right then, right? And we go, boom. And that kid is able to have a really, really bad sequence and check back in the game and be an entirely different player, because ultimately, I think the love between both of us are there. And I'll give you one story that happened this season. We were an hour and a half on a bus trip. An accident happened. We missed tip-off. Tip-off was supposed to be 5 o'clock. We arrived at the gym at 6:30. So an hour and a half later, the officials stayed. We were still able to play, but we pretty much got there and played, right? And that first and second quarter, we were off. I think we were up 4 at halftime. And I was not myself. I mean, I was saying stuff to the officials that you wouldn't want to be repeated. And the players were kind of losing their minds on a couple of situations. They acted badly. We were all just really out of kilter. And I said a couple things to the kids. I mean, we've got a first-team all-conference point guard that's a freshman. She's a COVID freshman. And she came out of the game, and I just gave her a riot act because she had a missed assignment, Brian, on the jump ball. A missed assignment, and I just ripped her. Well, we go down to halftime. And because there's that love in that locker room, I just said, hey, everybody, I'm sorry. I don't know what in the world that was, but that's not Heather Macy, and that's not your coach. And I love you guys like crazy, and we're going to get through it, and we're going to figure this thing out. And it was that quick moment where two of the kids said, hey, me either. Like, I'm not sure what happened there either. But, guys, can y'all all forgive me? Because we all said a lot of things and did a lot of things we shouldn't have been doing in that first quarter. We scored 60 points in the second half of that game. We won by 40. And because we just all connected, just all connected. And so maybe the crazy part for me is it wasn't that we switched defenses, and it wasn't what offense we were running, and it wasn't that we started screening better. It was that we loved more. And we loved more through the perfectly imperfect piece. And I think that now, the new version of me is what's so different, right? Because otherwise I would have just credited that we switched defenses and it was all my idea. Well, no, it was because I was really vulnerable with those kids, and I trust them like crazy. And I think they trust our staff like crazy to go, I'm sorry. And daggone, I love y'all. Let's do this thing together. And can we have some fun? I dance before every game. Before every game, they sing, I dance. That's kind of our routine. And I'm a pretty good dancer, but before every game, I mean, that can be kind of tough, but that's what they want to do to make sure that we're loose as we get into that game. And so I dance, I have fun, not after the win, Brian. That's the point I want to make in this. I don't dance after we win. I dance before because we get to play. And that's where the new perspective of what we do is that COVID taught us nothing else, or job changes doesn't teach us anything else, is that we have an opportunity to play today. So let's not wait to the end. Let's do it at the beginning. So let's eat our dessert first. And that's how we run our program. There's just a lot more fun and joy and love in what we do.
Yeah, joy eating your dessert first. That's awesome. I enjoyed that thoroughly. And you talked about, hey, you love your players, but you don't, basically you don't always love what they're doing. But because you have that trust, because you have that relationship, you're able to overcome anything that you say or do that potentially could be hurtful in a normal society when you don't have that relationship. Again, going back to the recruiting, going back to who you are, going back to our understanding of everything full circle is just special. And so your weird answer is, hey, you like to dance and eat your dessert first. So that's awesome, and I enjoyed that story. All right, so give us a 24 hours challenge. What is something that we all can do over the next 24 hours and take action doing it?
Okay, a 24-hour challenge. You know what? I would say, can you find something to be grateful for as soon as you wake up? I call it the 3 G's: gratitude, God, and get going green. And in our program, we want to lay green bricks. And sometimes it's hard to lay a green brick. Like, that's that dopamine thing that you and I talk about. So how do you lay a green brick? Sometimes you just got to make your bed up, get up and accomplish something that day. Do something for someone that you love, right? So I love my pup Rip. So me and her are going to get in that backyard and we're going to run around and play with the tennis ball, or I'm going to take her on a long walk. And if that means sacrificing time that I have to get my workout in to make sure that she's getting what she needs, then that's a green brick into my day. The other part for me is my relationship with God and my faith. And every single morning, I'm reading my devotional, I'm reading scripture, and I call it plugging into the source. And so I want to make sure that I've plugged into that source so that I have great perspective that day. And I have the ability to do the right things through the day. That's my biggest thing. Can I make great decisions and do the right things? And if I'm not plugged into the source, sometimes those decision making isn't where it needs to be. So I know that's really, really important to me. And then for me, the 24-hour challenge, obviously, is I pre-plan, what my fuel looks like, what my eating looks like, what my hydration looks like, so that I can make sure that I'm not going to make bad decisions as I have an emotional day or end up having a bad day. But hey, if you want to know more about the sticks that Brian and I carry and the red, yellow, green and all this weird language, he and I can share all this with you, because it has been a total game changer for me personally, and I think for our program.
For sure, it definitely has, and it's just a unique way of teaching. It's a unique way of helping others understand something that's different, and kids learn all in different ways, but the easiest and more clear you can make messages, the better they're going to understand what you're trying to teach. And you can do it in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be one way. It doesn't have to be what we've been taught our whole lives as coaches or what we learned. You can find different ways to relate and to teach and educate and motivate. And I think that's something that you do that's outside the box. As we wrap up here, I got 2 more for you. Are there any questions that I should have asked that I haven't yet, or anything that you want to get off your chest or speak on, or, talk about?
Any opportunity I have to catch up with you, it's absolutely perfect. So I'm so thankful to be on. Thanks for putting me on the Rising Coaches podcast, and always good anytime we get to catch up, especially when we can talk about recruiting.
Definitely. Yeah, I look forward to that, and hopefully we can do that soon. And, thank you for your time, and thank you for being a part of our podcast today.
Okay. Thanks. See you guys. 2 feet in with you always, Brian. See you guys soon.
Yep, always.